Welcome to our tutorial on advanced inventory setup and features.
We'll start by logging into the CRM using your assigned user credentials. For this tutorial, you'll need credentials with the role enabled called Warehouse or Administrator. When your initial items are imported from QuickBooks, all of the basic information such as description and price is in the CRM. However, Driven CRM greatly extends what is possible with inventory while still maintaining that tight link with QuickBooks. By entering CRM item maintenance from the CRM dashboard, I can browse and access any existing part numbers in the CRM system. But I'm actually going to start by creating a new part number, and I'll explain all of the various options available. Inventory and non-inventory types track stock levels, even though QB only tracks level for inventory. Otherwise, service and miscellaneous are the most common options. The discount type can automatically calculate a percentage. Each item can have up to 5 levels of category definitions to help with searching. You can use the Modify List option as an administrator to add new categories. For the part number field, enter your product part number, which is usually the manufacturer part number, but is up to you, but it must be unique. This will be the part number that displays on proposal and purchase order documents. Fill in a brief description, price, and whether the item is taxable. You also have the option to copy most of the part settings from a similar part number for convenience. When the part number has many options set such as quantity breaks and such, the copy settings is a convenient way to avoid the extra setup work for the new item. We'll use the green checkmark to save the item and enter advanced settings. The settings of the item are broken into sections that can be accessed on the left side of the screen. Item Details is the default options and contains a majority of the settings for the part number. The base price is the default sales price, average cost and last costs are set and computed by the system during PO receiving, and true cost is computed when expenses are added to a purchase order such as shipping costs. These can be adjusted here if necessary, however they'll only affect POs moving forward, not the history. If your assigned part number is different from the manufacturer, enter their part number here which will be searchable, and you can also indicate the manufacturer name and their UPC barcode information if you have it. UPC is also a built-in searchable field which can be used for the built-in barcoded shipping and receiving functions of the CRM. Next, choose whether this item will charge sales tax, but keep in mind that customer and order settings control the ultimate tax calculations. But settings both these to no indicates this item is always non-taxable. The units of measure has 3 settings which control how pricing and quantities are calculated. The base unit of measure is how the item is stocked, usually in each. Let's jump over to the CRM dashboard, and I'll show you where units of measure are configured. Go to Settings and Configuration and look for the Units of Measure option and select it. For this example, our base option of each will always be defined as a quantity of 1, and we can see there is an additional option called Box, and that has a related quantity of 10, meaning 10 each per box. Let's return to our item setup and we'll specify that both the selling unit of measure and buying unit of measure will be in boxes, so the CRM will automatically calculate 10 times the base price and quantity when box has been selected. It's important to remember that everything in QuickBooks is always in each, and invoices and POs to QB will transfer in each to keep everything simple. Next, enter a more verbose sales description for the item if you'd like, and you have the option to tell the CRM to use the long description as an automatic comment line on proposals and orders if you'd like. Now we'll move on down to even more advanced options for item setup. So far, the settings that we have discussed usually cover 95% of the standard item setup, but let's discuss some even more advanced options. The QC template field allows you to link a quality control checklist to the item, and if it is set, the checklist will activate in a work order when this item is linked to it. You can define a name for checklists using Modify List, and you'll find the QC configuration in Settings and Configuration. When a part is marked as inactive, it basically becomes invisible. Website Publish tells the CRM to refresh the item on your e-commerce site such as Shopify, Magento, and so forth. A custom alert message can be defined for the item, which will flash an alert on the data entry screen for sales reps, but will not appear on printed documents. Accounting item name and item class are mapped to QuickBooks. The setting for Avalara is part of the automatic tax calculations. Next, if you're using quantity breaks, a discount group of 0 means no group, otherwise specify a numeric value, and any parts on an order that share a discount group totaled together for quantity break discounts. The CRM has automatic sales commissions that can be enabled for the item based on selling price or profit, and set a percentage either here or in employee setup, but if it is set here, this item setting will be the preferred for calculation. So for this example, a 10% commission will be calculated based on the base price, or whatever the actual price ends up being on individual sales orders. Moving on, when you have multiple locations, you can specify the warehouse and stock/bin locations for the items to use during pick, pull, and packing and shipping. A vendor lead time can be specified, which can be used for reporting on items that are low in stock and need to be reordered. Now we'll move on to even more advanced options in the security settings, which only apply to users that are not an administrator in general. The stock setting can block or warn a user that attempts to add items to a proposal or order that is out of stock, as shown here with the various options. I'll select the warn option for this example so they can still add it to the order. Lock selling price will prevent price changes by non-admin sales reps and works together with discounting prohibited. With these two options set to yes, the sales rep cannot change pricing. Call for pricing and cost will start the price and cost at 0, and they must be entered by the sales rep for each order. Automatic discount can be set to yes, and the CRM will automatically apply an order discount equal to the item price. You can specify the CRM should not include the item on hard copies, and finally, you can specify that this item should not be included in the order margin calculations. The final section of our advanced setup controls if the CRM should automatically calculate an extended warranty price for the item. When enabled, a printable field will be generated with a calculated total presented to the customer to purchase an extended warranty. You can also specify the item's standard manufacturer warranty. The calculated warranty amount is only for printing. A sales rep would still need to add a line item to the order if it is purchased. This completes the first section. Let's move on to the shipping settings section. This section controls how the item is grouped, packaged, and weighed for both shipping estimates and printed shipping labels if enabled. You should treat these settings always in the base unit of measure, such as each, even if they will be packaged in boxes, etc. When the CRM automatically calculates package dimensions, it will use these values to create an estimated box diameter and weight, allowing for quick and accurate shipping. If the values are left at 0, the system assumes 1 inch square and 1 pound of weight per item. Next, we'll move on to serialized item setup, which controls if the CRM will track serial or lot numbers during receiving and shipping. When enabled, you also have the option to specify if the system should expect a single serial number per item, such as an electronic part with a single serial number, or multiple quantities per lot number, such as 100 ounces of milk. You can set to require the serial number, and you can prohibit duplicates to prevent a serial number from being used more than once. The system can automatically generate serial numbers for items you are manufacturing, and you can optionally link an expiration date to each serialized item. Next, we'll move to the stock configuration area, where the only configuration options are the reordering quantity point and the recommended restock quantity. These values are available for reporting, but they do not automatically perform any functions. Normally, you would not manually adjust the stock quantities, but the option is in this section if you need them. Just update the quantity values and use the Save Stock Updates to commit them immediately. However, it's a better idea to use the Physical Inventory module to adjust stock. I'll discuss it coming up soon. But for now, let's move on to the vendor setup section of an item. This section allows you to specify up to 5 vendors that you purchase the item from, and when a purchase order is generated for that specific vendor, the CRM will automatically use the vendor-specific values listed here when generating the purchase order. Otherwise, the CRM will just use the main item setup parameters for the PO. If some of the items here are specified but others are not, the CRM will use the rest of the main setup values when generating the PO. For example, if I had left by price at 0, the CRM would use the last cost instead when generating the PO, but would still use the vendor part number to sending the PO to the vendor. That also applies to this purchase description field. You can continue this process for up to 5 vendors per item, allowing great flexibility and accuracy when generating purchase orders for items. Remember, these settings are optional, and the system will use the main item details always as a default. Now let's move on to price levels. In the CRM, you can define special pricing that can be linked to a special type of customer, such as wholesale accounts, partners, etc. You can configure either fixed monetary values, or you can have the CRM automatically calculate a percentage discount or calculate the price based on a markup of cost to ensure profitability for the item. Whatever option you choose here applies to all 20 price levels you see on the screen, but only for this specific item we are working on. I'll keep this example simple and set it to monetary values. I'll set pricing for levels 2 to 4 at specific values. I'll take a quick moment and return to our CRM dashboard, and I'll show you where you would set the desired price level for a specific CRM account. You'll just need to access the CRM account profile for your customer. The easiest way is just to search for the customer at the top of the dashboard or whichever way you prefer. Once the customer profile displays, you'll use the gear icon at the top to access the account settings. Scroll downwards until you reach the section called Sales Order/Invoicing and look for the Customer Pricing Level dropdown. Everybody is pricing level 1 by default, which means retail price. For this example, I'll move them to price level 2. It's important to note that when this customer purchases an item that does have a price setting for price level 2, the system will default to retail price for the item, so you don't have to worry that the price would be 0. So returning back to our price level setup, when that particular customer purchases this exact product, they will automatically receive it at the $98 price. Okay, let's move on to quantity breaks. Just like it sounds, when a customer reaches a certain quantity thresholds of an item, the CRM will automatically adjust the price of the item on the order. For each quantity break, you can either set a monetary price value. For this example, I'll set it to $98.50. Or you could have the system look up what price level pricing is and use that price instead, so you don't have to duplicate the data entry if the quantity break pricing already aligns with the price level values. I'd like to remind you about the discount group in the main item setup. The CRM will total all quantities on a quote or order with the same group when applying quantity breaks. The Photos area is pretty self-explanatory and offers a way to provide printing templates and users with actual photos of your items. Next, we'll move on to one of the more powerful sections of advanced item setup called Related Product. The Related Product section can be as simple as telling the CRM what accessories an item has, or it can be used to define inventory assemblies. I can also automatically add related items to a quote order, which is called groups. And even more impressively, you can actually create a comprehensive configuration wizard you can present to a sales rep during quote and order entry. You'll use the Add Item search to search and choose items related to your configuration, and you can optionally group them by adding header sections using the Add Header entry box at the top. You can use the various options to rearrange the display and groupings based on what you're looking for. For this example, I'm going to configure this item to display a couple of labor item options that the sales rep can choose from whenever they add this item to a sales order or quotation. So here we have 2 items they'll be able to choose from: the trimming and shrub trimming and the weekly gardening service. The relationship type dropdown is important. It tells the CRM how you want these configured options to work. When the option is set to group, all of these options will automatically populate onto the order when the item is selected. We'll discuss inventory assemblies coming up shortly, but for now we'll want to set this option to configuration options, which tells the CRM to display the wizard configuration screen to the users during data entry. You'll be glad to hear that we've made it through all the advanced options for now of an item setup. The last option of attachments is fairly self-explanatory, and you would use the attach icon in the top toolbar to add any attachments to the item, such as specification sheets or sales brochures, which the users could then access in the item research section. I'm going to take a moment and demonstrate how our wizard setup looks for this item. I'll access an open sales order I already have in the system, and I'll search for our example material part number we just configured. The item displays a red exclamation point indicating we have a custom alert message on the item, and when we choose the item, the configuration wizard appears with the options we have specified. I'll switch back over to our item setup and the related product section to remind you how we set it up. We created a header called Labor Options, and we added 2 accessory items to the wizard for trimming and gardening. So now the CRM user can optionally add these items to the order easily by entering the desired quantities. At the top, the user can adjust the quantity of the main trigger item, the example material part number. The linked components setting indicates we want the CRM to adjust the related quantities as a multiple of the trigger quantity, or when set to no indicates the quantities are all independent of each other. I'll use the green checkmark to save our configuration and it will be added back into our order. The CRM highlights in yellow the trigger item and displays the user choices for the related items directly below. Each item quantity and price can be adjusted if needed. One thing I will point out is we set the trigger item to sell in the unit of measure of boxes, which is a multiple of 10, which is why the CRM calculated the selling price of $1,000 for the box. You can select the model number link of the item to access the advanced settings of the item, and in the price drop-down the CRM will display the available pricing options. From here we'll have access to our quantity breaks that we have configured for the item, allowing us to provide a discount for this order as if they were being purchased in the each quantity. And be sure to move the price mode to automatic to tell the CRM to recalculate the price for this item. So now we can see that our price has been adjusted to the quantity break pricing, but you still have full control over the order, such as if I want to remove the gardening item from the order as shown here. That's it for the configuration of the item, and just a reminder that even though our order is sold in boxes, the base quantity of each will be used for QuickBooks transfers. This means when I switch over to QuickBooks and look at the item stock for the item, QuickBooks will be stocking the item in the each quantity, and our purchases and shipments from the CRM will be multiplied automatically. So QuickBooks will also have the base price of $100 based on the each quantity. We'll move back to the CRM so we can talk about item assemblies. If you are not familiar with the concept of item assemblies, they are a way of pre-building a sort of kit that contains one or more component pieces. In the CRM, when you tell it you are building an assembly, the CRM reduces the quantities of the components and increases the quantity of the build kit. You would then stock and sell the kit as a regular inventory item. Assemblies work in a similar manner as our wizard configuration. However, we'll need to set the relationship type to inventory assembly at the top. You will then tell the CRM all of the various item components that are needed to build one of the assemblies. Add in all of the various components and use the green checkmark to save the configuration. Every time you have built one of the assemblies, you'll use the hamburger menu in Item Maintenance and choose the Build and Assembly option. Choose the master assembly item from the list and the screen will display the information needed to complete the assembly operation. The build quantity indicates how many assemblies you have completed and the warehouse that will house the final assembly. I'll jump back over to the item list so we can see we currently have 0 assemblies in stock. This means after we complete the assembly operation, we'll have 2 completed assemblies, and our component items of sprinkler pipes and landscape edging will be reduced by the amount needed to complete the assembly operation. I'm just double-checking I'll be building 2 of the test assemblies, and I'll use the green checkmark at the top right to complete the operation. So right now the component items are being reduced in both the CRM and QuickBooks, and the assemblies are increasing by 2 in both systems also. Now if I return back to our CRM item maintenance and refresh the screen, we can see we now have the 2 completed assemblies available to sell. I'll flip over to our QuickBooks and access the product list so we can see that QuickBooks is also aware now that the 2 assemblies are in stock. Behind the scenes, the CRM has performed several automatic inventory adjustments related to both the components and the end assembly. The end assembly has adjusted up a quantity of 2. By the way, in the CRM accounting setup screen, you can configure the GL accounts that QuickBooks will use for these types of adjustments. I'll flip over to our component items and take a look at the edging part number that was one of the 2 components used in the assembly. If I take a look at the QuickBooks report for the item, you'll see the matching negative transactions related to the assembly operation. Remember that the CRM user is not aware of this. I'm just showing you this so you know how assemblies affect QuickBooks. Moving on, The next feature we are going to discuss is the multiple location, which are also called warehouses or stock locations. The CRM can have a virtually unlimited number of stock locations to maintain your inventory. Sometimes these are physical locations such as another side of your business, but they also can be holding areas for things such as excess or defective inventory. The CRM has a feature named Transfer Stock available in the Item Maintenance hamburger menu. This feature allows you to transfer a quantity from one warehouse to another without needing a financial operation. I'm going to go back to the main dashboard, choose Settings and Configuration, then look for the option titled Warehouses. I'm going to create a new stock location that will hold our defective inventory. To do that, I'll use the plus icon in the toolbar to add a new location, and I'll just fill out some basic information to identify the location's function. For these, I don't need to worry about the address and other settings. The primary setting that is important is titled Inventory Mode. I'll want to set the inventory mode for the location to unsellable, which indicates that the CRM will prevent the shipping of this item on an order. I'll use the green checkmark to save the new location, and returning back to our list, I can now see there are 2 locations now listed in the CRM. It's important to note that QuickBooks is not aware of these locations and only maintains the stock totals for simplicity. Now we'll return to our CRM item maintenance, and we'll use the hamburger menu, and we'll select the transfer stock option to begin the process. For this example, I will take a quantity of one of our landscape edging items, which has a quantity of 16 in the main default warehouse, and I will transfer a quantity of 1 to the unsellable location. Transfers can be instant, or I can create a pending stock transfer. I'll choose the default warehouse as source location and the unsellable warehouse as the destination, and optionally designate a bin location for the item. You can optionally enter instructions for the warehouse that will print on the transfer form. I'll use the Print Transfer Form button, and the system will generate a request form that can be printed or emailed to the warehouse to complete the transfer. The transfer form has everything the warehouse will need to complete the transfer. If the item tracked serial numbers, the system would have prompted you for the serial number related to the transfer. I'll then use the green checkmark button to save the stock transfer in a pending state to be completed later. You can view and complete pending transfers from the CRM item maintenance area. Go to Item Maintenance and select the part number, and in the Details window below, select the Transfers tab to see any and all pending transfers. Here's our transfer we just generated. I'll select the transfer and we'll go ahead and finalize it. To do that, you'll specify the date of the actual transfer and you'll select Yes in the Finalize this request drop-down menu. You can optionally set the transfer status, but this field is more information only. That's all there is to it. Use the green checkmark and the CRM will move the item to the new location and close the request. Now we'll select our item and use the Stock tab in the Details area below to see the stock location quantities, and we can see we have our 1 item in the defective stock location. When you create sales orders, you can then choose which stock location the order will draw from. Notice the on-hand quantity in the grid displays total stock quantity, 16 in this case, 15 in the default warehouse, and our 1 defective item. Stock locations are managed within the CRM directly. When you look at the item in QuickBooks, it will have the total on hand for the item, which should always match the CRM on-hand value. However, if they don't match for some reason, the CRM has a physical inventory adjustment feature that can be used to perform adjustments. It doesn't have to be used just for discrepancies. We can also use it to adjust our defective item out of both the CRM and QuickBooks. For example, let's say that we have determined our 1 defective edging is unrepairable, so we'll just need to write it off. For the physical inventory mode, I'll select that I want to audit an exact part number only, and I'll enter our edging part number. Next, I'll change the auditing warehouse to our defective stock location, and I'll press the Start Physical Inventory button to continue. The audit process is optimized for barcoded input or keyed entry. These buttons control the audit process. End Physical Inventory will commit our change or cancel to abort the process. The inventory status report can be used at any time to see the current status of what you've entered versus expected. I'll mention that the inventory used on CRM work orders aren't released until the work order closes, so the audit lets you know how many of these items are on open work orders. You can print this discrepancy sheet to help track down errors. You can transfer an item location here if it is in the wrong warehouse, and finally you can add a discovered item to stock on the fly. We'll enter our edging part number again since we're only doing the one adjustment. The system prompts us for our new desired quantity. In this case it will be 0. Enter 0 and press the Enter key and the system will display a notice that the value has been accepted. If you were auditing multiple part numbers, you would simply enter the next part number to process. However, in this case, we're only doing the one item, so I'll use the End Physical Inventory button to finalize the process. Select OK to confirm we're ending the process, and the CRM will display a summary of the audit, in this case indicating that there was a quantity difference in one item, which is correct. Under the Corrective Action drop-down, we'll tell the CRM that we want to adjust the physical inventory values. You'll need to enter the CAPTCHA code displayed in the box, then press the Finalize Audit button to finish up. And that's all there is to it. Our inventory on hand quantity for the item is now 15 instead of 16, and defective stock warehouse is now 0. Behind the scenes in QuickBooks, the CRM has issued an automatic physical adjustment for the item. I'll scroll down to our edging part number, and we'll see the quantity is 15 in QuickBooks also. By running a quick report on the item, we'll see that the CRM has issued our physical adjustment of the item -1 quantity. Okay, so that completes our comprehensive overview of advanced inventory control in Driven CRM. We have another great video that discusses how inventory moves through purchase orders and shipping, including the proper use of serialized inventory and stock levels. For that, please check out the video titled Order Processing and Inventory. Thank you for watching.
For more helpful videos, please visit our website at www.notia.com.